It is Indiana in the morning. It's WCCS 101.1 FM, AM 1160, and WCCSradio.com. Good morning to you. Beautiful, beautiful Thursday, and we're glad that you've made us a part of it for you here on this Thursday morning in downtown Indiana. And look over there, boys and girls. Right across the microphone from me is Senator Joe Pittman. Good to have you back in the studio with us. Not as if anything's happened in the last month or so, huh?
Good to be back, Todd. I don't think much has happened. Tell me what has happened.
There's this little thing down in Homer City.
Yeah.
Maybe you've heard about it. Our visit with the senator, presented by Marcus and Mack, voted best law firm and best personal injury lawyer 3 years in a row in the Best of Indiana County contest. Visit them online at marcusandmack.com. I do want to ask you about Homer City, but I also want to ask about an event that is actually happening. Is it today?
Today, yes. Yes. We have a student government seminar, and this is something that Senator White actually started probably 20 years ago, and we've continued it. And it's an opportunity for schools in the 41st District to bring students to the Kowalski Complex and go through a Senator for the Day program, essentially. And so this year we have the most students ever. I think we have about 140 students over at the KCAC right now. The program just got kicked off, and it's an annual event, as I said, and it really gives students, I hope, an understanding of how government works outside of the classroom. Because the one thing that happens in government that you can't teach or you can't understand unless you experience is the impact of human nature on how decisions get made and on how the process gets worked.
Yeah, and that's a really, really strong point, because I think if people were sitting in an office or proverbial fly on a wall at some of the committee meetings and some of the other things that happen behind the scenes and not out on the Senate floor, they might have their eyes opened about the way the whole process works.
Absolutely. And, we all come from different walks of life, the 50 of us in the Senate. Not only do we represent different constituencies, but we have different life experiences, and we have a different sense of what priorities are and then how we communicate with those priorities. And some elected officials have aspirations for higher office. Other elected officials very much just want to serve their constituency for a period of time and have a different outlook on what it means to serve a constituency. Some members are more focused on writing legislation and passing legislation. Other members may be more focused on the impacts of projects in their communities. And so it's really an eclectic bunch that comes together in elective office. And that's the part you just can't teach.
Priorities are different for different districts as well. For instance, we have often talked in the past about property taxes.
Yes.
And how in certain sections of the state, property taxes aren't an issue at all, and therefore getting everybody to come together on what seems here in Indiana County to be a really, really important issue, it's much more difficult because it's down the list for a lot of areas.
A good example of the property tax dynamic, I was talking with my colleague that represents the Poconos area, and a lot of the homes that are owned there are actually second homes from people whose primary residencies are in New York and New Jersey, and they're paying property taxes on those second homes. Do we necessarily want to not have them pay a property tax? It's not their primary residence, but yet our communities are getting a benefit from them paying that tax rate, even though they live in New York and New Jersey. And her point to me was, I'm not sure they need to have their property tax eliminated. It's not their home. And that's always been the struggle of looking at the property tax from the premise of your home is your castle, your primary residence. That is, at least in my opinion, always been the focus on that issue and should be.
Yeah. And here in this area, we sort of have the idea that we don't actually own our homes. We rent them from our school districts.
Absolutely. I mean, they are tantamount of rent to the government. And school districts are usually roughly 80% of it, but you also have your county and your municipal taxes, too, that are part of it.
Yeah. Let's head off down the road then to Homer City and the excitement of the announcement last month and what is coming and the potential for that in the Homer City area, but for all of our region, let alone Indiana County. We look at the various benefits. We look at some of the challenges that will crop up, and we've heard a lot of discussion about, again, property values and housing and the options for getting people here to move to Indiana County, which seems like that could happen. there's a lot to work through in order to take the greatest advantage of what we see as something coming that, changes the whole game.
It's a generational project. I obviously wasn't around when the Homer City Power Plant was first built, but I think we have to liken it to that kind of magnitude. The construction jobs that are going to be created as a result of this, and this is going to be a multi-year project. We're talking about the largest natural gas plant in the country. That says something as a community out of the gate. So it's going to be a dynamic few years here in the region. There will be obviously some growing pains with it, but at the end of the day, whenever you talk about what we're all looking for, I think, is economic opportunity. This is at the top of the list when it comes to economic opportunity. And to your point about the property tax piece, these data centers and this power plant will pay a property tax payment, and it will be significant. And so that will help the school districts, because some of this will be actually occurring in both Homer Center and River Valley because the municipal boundaries are right there. So there's going to be that kind of impact on the municipalities and impact on the county.
The overall energy picture that we have spoken of quite often, Reggie has been a big issue for 8 or 9 years now, and certainly this is impacted by the Reggie discussion. The existence of the power plant out the road in Shilakta, the sewer generating station, all of the different, Indiana County's role as a major piece of the puzzle in the eastern seaboard, really. In terms of energy, is going to increase even more. And those power plants are still going to be a big part of this.
Back in the 70s, and I think it was either U.S. News or Newsweek, did a article on this region in terms of its electricity production, and they coined us as Power Alley. And it's so very true. And what we're seeing now is those who made the decisions to locate these power plants in this region built us an infrastructure that is unrivaled. And it's now becoming extraordinarily important because of the advent of AI and data centers and all of those kinds of things. And so we have a real opportunity to capitalize on that. Now, we'll put the asterisk of Reggie out there because there's a dynamic going on in our power grid that we're finding now we're having two types of consumers of electricity. We're having these massive data centers that are going to consume this electricity, and they're not as price sensitive, quite frankly, to the cost of electricity. But the everyday consumer is out there, and electric rates are going to go up. And so things like Reggie not only disincentivize people from producing the electricity, but it's still going to have that end user impact. State Supreme Court's actually going to hear the Reggie case on May 13th. And so I think that's going to tell us a lot about the future of that issue.
Yeah. Who's arguing on behalf of those who are opposed to Reggie?
On behalf of those who are opposed to Reggie are the attorneys for the Senate Republicans, the building trade unions, and the energy producers.
Yeah, it's going to be a fascinating thing to watch unfold, just because it has more than just Reggie implications. It really is about how is Pennsylvania governed.
Absolutely. It's about the balance of governance, co-equal governance. That's part of what we're talking about at the Student Government Seminar. What does it mean to have co-equal governance?
Yeah. All right. Speaking of governments, in Harrisburg, you've been hard at work along with your Senate colleagues about, a number of different issues. The budget certainly is still top of mind for a lot of folks, and it will be for another few months.
The budget's going to consume everything for the next few months. It's the most important thing we do every year. We're talking about a budget that spends roughly $47 billion. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of resources. There's a lot of policy decisions to make, and in some ways it's the best of time and the worst of times for us. Yes, we have a savings account right now that's approximately $10 billion. It's a very important savings account to have because, everybody wants that money. It is one-time money. The flip side is we are spending more money than we are bringing in. We're going to run about a $3 billion deficit this year, which means that we are spending $3 billion more than we're bringing in revenue. We've got to get those numbers to align, or we're going to have a real problem in the next couple of years.
Yeah, it's going to be something to watch unfold because that's a philosophical bit of an argument there, isn't it?
Well, we have to balance a budget. Unlike our friends at the federal government, I've said this before, we don't get the print money and we don't get the deficit spend. So that balanced budget has to occur. And if that means we have to use money out of our savings account to balance it, that's what we'll do. But understand, once we do that once, that money's not there the second time around.
Yeah, yeah. And it seems to get a whole lot easier to reach into that account, too.
It does, but you can reach into it as long as it's there. But once it's gone, it's gone.
Yeah, yeah. Then you're thinking about borrowing, and nobody wants to get into that.
Right.
All right. So what are the other priorities that you see in Harrisburg in the next 6 months or so?
We're going to have a lot of conversation, I think, about transit and transportation infrastructure. If you followed a lot of the headlines, and this is a very regional thing that shows the differences of Pennsylvania, the southeastern part of the state is very concerned about their transit network, the SEPTA network. Mm-hmm. Allegheny County is very concerned about its transit network. And while we realize there's a place for transit in those communities, number one, we want to make sure they're efficiently run, and that if they're going to ask the taxpayers to support those networks, that we understand we're getting a return on investment. In addition to that, rural communities obviously don't get that benefit. I mean, we have Indigo here in Indiana County. It provides an important service, but it's not nearly to the magnitude of what you see in these more urban areas. What are our issues? Highway maintenance. This winter was brutal on our roads. It was quite obvious, and PennDOT can only do so much with the resources they have. And so my point has been, if we're going to bring dollars to transit, there has to be an equivalent effort to bring dollars to infrastructure. Now, the ultimate question is, where do you find those dollars? Mm-hmm. That's the big issue.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, one bridge project, and it can be a 15-foot bridge. That turns into a major headache, and we've got plenty of bridges that need fixed.
Well, the Route 83 bridge is an example over the Susquehanna River as you go into Harrisburg. Mm-hmm. It's, I believe, 100 years old. It needs replaced. It's going to be a $1 billion project. It's a massive bridge. I think it's a 6-lane bridge. It spans the whole Susquehanna River. Again, once they replace it, it'll be good for another 100 years. But when that bill comes due, it's a big bill.
Yeah, I was just on that bridge a couple of weeks ago. You get on it once in a while, too, don't you?
Every once in a while.
Senator Pittman, thanks so much for the visit this morning. I appreciate that.
Todd, always a pleasure. It's good to be back.
It's the voice of Indiana County, WCCS, 101.1 FM, AM 1160, WCCSradio.com. 9:26 in the morning, Boomer Sports, brought to you by S&T Bank, People Forward Banking.